So you're sitting at your desk with all of your notes open and you just cannot seem to focus. You have 3 finals in 4 days and you just feel like you can't keep up. Believe me, I've been there. Hey everyone, my name is Fadi and I'm a third-year university student majoring in biomedical sciences, and I know what it's like to struggle to make yourself study for longer periods of time. And that's why in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 5 tips on how I was able to study for 12 hours a day leading up to my final exams in my first semester of my 3rd year of university. Disclaimer, you probably don't want to be studying 12 hours a day, but if you found yourself in a position within the semester where you have to study 12 hours a day leading up to your final exams to catch up and keep up, then I'm going to be sharing 5 tips on how I was able to achieve that. So the first thing that helped me to be able to study for 12 hours a day was my mindset. And what I mean by mindset is that you have to want to study for 12 hours a day if you're going to be able to study for 12 hours a day. It will literally be impossible to work for that long if you don't want to do it. And you might be telling yourself, well, nobody wants to be doing it. Nobody wants to spend that much time in front of a screen or in front of their books studying for that long. And I agree with you, but essentially my fear of failure was so high that I wanted to do anything possible in order to crush the idea that I wasn't prepared for an exam. And the mindset shouldn't be, I want to study for 12 hours a day. The mindset should be that I want to study as much as I find necessary in order to be able to achieve the goal that I want to reach. So work as much as you need to in order to get to your goal, and be realistic with yourself. But unless you have the mindset and the willingness to sit down and endure this amount of studying, you won't be able to do it. And that's what I found. So the second thing that helped me study for 12 hours a day was the Pomodoro timer. Those of you who don't know what a Pomodoro timer is, it is essentially a timer that counts down and it gives you a working period and a break period. And these timers come with many different settings. It could be 25 minutes work, 5-minute break, 10 minutes work, 5 minutes break. But the one that I found to be the most useful was the 50 minutes of work and 10 minutes of break. So for every hour of work that I was doing, I was being rewarded with 10 minutes of break. I highly discourage you from doing any other setting besides 50 minutes of work and 10 minutes of break, because I found that your brain cannot get into a flow state and actually start to get work done before you force yourself to take a break if you're doing 25 on, 5 minutes off, or 10 minutes on, 5 minutes off. I found for every 50 minutes of work that I did, I can reward myself with 10 minutes of break, and that's what kept me sane enough to keep going for long periods of time. But for the Pomodoro timer to work, you have to respect the timer. This timer should have authority over you. You cannot have authority over the timer. As long as the timer is ticking down and your work period, you have to be working. And as soon as that break timer is over, you need to be back at your desk and doing your work. Believe me, I found the Pomodoro timers very cheesy. I've seen them everywhere. I felt like they didn't work. But in this context, religiously doing the 50-10 is what helped me be able to study for long periods of time and get work done before I decided to take a break. Because essentially the break time was already decided for me and I didn't have to choose when I wanted to do that. Okay, so let's move on to the third thing that I found helped me study for 12 hours a day, and that's making a to-do list. Now this tip sounds very simple and straightforward, but I'm going to explain why this to-do list was very crucial in order for me to get some work done every single day leading up to my final exams. Essentially, the night before every study day, you want to make a to-do list for the following day. You want to make a checklist of everything that you want to get done the following day before you go to sleep. And if you can estimate how long it takes you to do every task and block it into a calendar the way that I did it, you're essentially deciding what your next day is before you even go to sleep. And this helps eliminate all the decision making on the day that you're actually trying to study. Because I found that one of the biggest barriers for me was sitting in front of my desk and not knowing what I wanted to study next. And by eliminating the decision making process the day that I'm trying to study, when I sit down at my desk, I can just get the work done that's in front of me on my to-do list and tick them off gradually. And that little dopamine hit of when you tick off a task and you see that maybe you have 2 more left, and then you tick the next one off and you have 1 more left, and then you tick that one off and you're done, is a great feeling that keeps you motivated to want to complete all your tasks for the day and make you want to study longer. Now the fourth thing that helped me study for 12 hours a day leading up to my final exams was developing a routine. What I found helped me the most is finding out which times were the most distraction-free in my own household and developing a routine around that to make sure that my studying was the most distraction-free possible. You might know what times your dog needs to go for a walk, or your parents might come back from work, or your brother might come in and ask you for a favor. You might know exactly what times seem to be the busiest around the house, and you can plan ahead. Whether you know that at this point of the day you need to be at a library so you can be distraction free, or if you need to wake up earlier if you want to maximize before everyone else wakes up. Know your situation in your house and build around it. And if you live alone, that might be a little bit easier for you. But in my case, in like a realistic case scenario where if you're still living with your family, you need to be able to work around what you have, and you need to be able to analyze and adapt. Also in line with developing a routine is deciding when to wake up and when to go to sleep and sticking to it consistently. I know it's hard sometimes to keep track of your sleep schedule. Sometimes it's hard to wake up in the morning, but if you really try your best to go to sleep and to wake up at the exact same times, you're going to set your body clock to know when to lock in and when to go to sleep. I think that when I was studying for my final exams this semester, I was doing something like studying from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in a 6-hour block. Then I would take a 3-hour break. And then from 6 p.m. to midnight, I would do another 6-hour block. I would go to sleep at 1 a.m., wake up at 8 a.m. and restart the whole thing until my exams were over with, essentially. Now that might sound a little bit psychotic, and I really don't recommend doing 2 6-hour blocks if you really can't handle it. Maybe break it down into 6 2-hour blocks, or 4 3-hour blocks, or 3 4-hour blocks. Not to say that you actually have to do 12 hours a day. But if that's your goal, develop a routine and work on it consistently until your final exams are over with. And for my 5th and final tip, the one that I found the most important is learning to manage your energy. Studying for 12 hours a day definitely isn't easy on your body. You're committing so much mental and physical energy onto one task for such long periods of time every single day. And eventually you are bound to burn out. So it is crucial to learn how to manage your energy just like any other athlete in any sport in order to be consistent and be able to endure 12 hours of studying every single day. Okay, so Fadi, how do you manage your energy? So I'm going to break this down into a couple points. Point 1, prioritize your sleep. 7 to 8 hours of sleep is going to be necessary if you want your brain to keep up with you every single day. Me personally, like I said, I was sleeping at 1 a.m. and waking up at 8 a.m. every single day, getting 7 hours of sleep. But you might need 8 hours of sleep, or 9 hours of sleep, or 10 hours of sleep. You know how much sleep you need to function, and you need to prioritize that number and build everything around how much sleep you get. Because sleep is so important, and I cannot stress this enough. Sleep as much as you need to sleep. But like I said in the previous tip about developing a routine, you want to pick a specific time to go to sleep and to wake up so that your body develops that routine of knowing when to cool down and when to ramp up. Another point on managing your energy is to manage your food consumption. Make sure that you're eating enough and that you're eating healthy and good quality food, because food is fuel and you wouldn't put cheap gas into a Ferrari. What I found important though is not eating too much food, because I'm prone to food comas, and eating too much food just puts me into a slump where I want to fall asleep. And so I would say avoid filling up your stomach too much so you don't hit that rock bottom of I just want to take a nap, I don't want to study, forget about it. Another thing that I found very useful is fasting in the mornings. Essentially from when I first woke up at 8 a.m. until 12 p.m., I would not eat anything besides maybe drinking a coffee. Now, I personally found that skipping breakfast and only having a coffee in the morning helped me have the highest amount of energy throughout my day in the morning and get my most productive amount of studying done within that time. But if you feel like you need breakfast to function, please have breakfast. Do not listen to me. Now, my final point on managing your energy is beware of caffeine consumption. Now, I'm sure many of you, like I do, love coffee, and coffee is just something that helps us get going. But caffeine in excess could be detrimental to the studying that you're trying to get done on that day. Now, I personally had 1 coffee per 6-hour block of studying that I was doing, and I found that to be perfect for me. On my worst days with my lowest energy, I maybe had 3 coffees, but that is the most that I ever allowed myself to have. I don't recommend having caffeine at a late period of the day, especially about 6 hours before you're going to go to sleep, but that's just something that I did that helped me and that kept me going. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's just what I did. So those were my 5 main tips that allowed me to study 12 hours a day leading up to my final exams in my first semester of my 3rd year of university. I know studying 12 hours a day might sound psychotic, but it's just something that I was able to do, and I felt like I needed to share some tips that I found along my way that allowed me to study for longer periods of time every single day. Comment down below for more tips that you guys would like to hear from me. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more future videos. But besides that, it's been your boy Fadi, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.